Welcome to the IREL podcast. Are you sick and tired of real estate gurus pitching their next pre-construction deal, only to find out years later they were completely wrong? Worried the next overseas conference you spend thousands to attend will only be used to sell overpriced lots in deserted developments? Join thousands of other international real estate seekers who are looking for their place in paradise without the sales pitch. Straight from your host, Taylor White.
Hey, real estate seeker, and welcome to the Overseas Property Insider Podcast. I'm your host, Taylor White. I am proud to say this episode is brought to your earbuds courtesy of my friends at HomeAway. If you're a homeowner or property manager and want to put your vacation rental in front of over 62 million travelers each month and earn incredible returns of up to $56,000 per year, then you must list it on the #1 vacation rental marketplace. Head on over to irelpodcast.com/rental to get started. I can't wait to share another House Hunters International and Live Here by This alum when I sit down and speak with Rebecca Clower from Blue Water Properties in Guanacaste, Costa Rica, and as always, we'll get the true story on the local real estate scene and have you coming away wanting to investigate its local property market further or cross off your shortlist entirely and continue listening. Right now from Rebecca, you will learn why the Guanacaste province is the most highly sought after in the country, which might have something to do with the nearby international airport, over 300 days a year of sunshine, and the driest province in the country. Reveals what the best strategies are today when buying, and further confirms what previous guests have said that the pre-construction days are long gone. Sets the record straight on if getting local financing is even a possibility, and breaks down exactly how her clients are buying this very minute, and much more. And don't forget, if you're listening to this podcast and want to grab Rebecca's contact details, links on buying or selling Guanacaste real estate, or any other show notes, head on over to irelpodcast.com/37. Pour me another shot of Waro, turn off the television, and get ready for a top 5 episode. In case you can't tell, I'm excited. Let's get Rebecca on the phone. What is going on, Rebecca? It's Taylor White. I'm excited to have you on the podcast today, straight from Guanacaste, Costa Rica, so we can get to know you personally. Tell us more about yourself and where your stomping grounds were before you ended up in Guanacaste.
Sure. Well, Taylor, I was born in Chicago and grew up in Buffalo, New York. And basically, after tiring of all the cold weather, I moved west to Phoenix, Arizona, where I attended and graduated Arizona State University with a degree in broadcast journalism and a minor in Spanish. I thought I was going to be the next Katie Couric and be reporting news, but instead I moved east to Tampa, Florida, and I was offered a position in broadcast sales. So that's where I started. And my mother is from Costa Rica, which is why I speak Spanish fluently, and my father's from Chicago. And I have a younger brother that still lives in Buffalo. Not really sure what's taking him so long to move down here to Costa Rica with me. And I also have 2 beautiful little boys, Kian and Elijah, who are 4 and 6, and were born here in Costa Rica as well.
So, Rebecca, I have to ask you, we're in February. We have listeners from 45 countries. Make us jealous. What's the weather like?
Pretty much every day it's sunny and warm in the mid to upper 80s for an average. Sometimes gets into the 90s, but yeah, right now is probably the best weather we have. It's super dry. We actually don't see any rain at all until May. So it's pretty predictable weather every day.
I love that. And how close are you to the ocean right now?
Well, I'm at my central office, which is about a 3-minute drive to the ocean, but we do have another office in Tamarindo, which is literally 100 meters away. So I'm always rather close to the ocean, so I really can't complain.
Love it, Rebecca. And so we can get a better idea of you professionally, give us your brief resume leading up to Blue Water Properties of Costa Rica.
Sure. Well, as I said, I graduated from Arizona State. I had a degree in broadcast journalism. And after graduation, I headed east to Tampa, Florida, where I worked in broadcast sales with Warner Brothers and Univision Television. And during that time, I got involved in real estate investing and sales, flipping and rehabbing properties in distressed areas of the city of Tampa. And then in 2003, I quit TV advertising and received my real estate license and started to work through an independent agency called Tagger Realty. And I really have to give thanks to my broker at that time, Jeff Warnick, who taught me so much about real estate investing and wholesaling. And basically, over the course of the next 5 years, I rehabbed and sold about 40 properties and also sold millions of dollars worth of homes and condos on the residential side. So in 2006, the market started to slow, and I just had this feeling like things were going to change. And in mid 2006, I was offered a job in Tamarina, Costa Rica with Remax. So I took the plunge and head to Central America and never looked back. And honestly, I can say it was the best decision that I ever made. For me, it wasn't a decision to be made lightly, but it also made a lot of sense for me because my family, my mother is from Costa Rica, and I've been traveling to the country since I was a young child. So it wasn't going to be something that I wasn't already accustomed to. In late 2007, Blue Water Properties of Costa Rica was formed, and I started with a small office in the town of Huacas near Playa Conchal. And that office focused on real estate sales and property management. And at that time, we only had 2 employees and 2 properties that I managed. And today we have 4 offices and 25 employees and a tour and travel business. So it's changed a little bit over the course of these years. And a 5th office will be opening pretty soon in Playa del Coco, and we're super excited about that.
And then do you guys handle sales as far as for a buyer, a seller, and then as far as vacation rentals?
Correct. We do all three. We kind of, I feel like the businesses kind of married to one another in the sense that, you sell a property to a client, they turn on and say, who's going to manage my property? And at the time I thought, well, I could do it. It can't be that hard, right? So we started to do property management, which sometimes can be a thankless job, but it's a good it's a consistent job. So that's a nice thing. And then we're able to help our clients feel secure in what they're doing, that, hey, not only can we sell you a property, but we can also help you manage it. And then when you're managing it, well, you have clients, and those clients need services such as tours and transfers at-home services. So we, of course, started the tour agency a few years ago, and that's how that kind of was born out of the property management. So yeah, we're basically 3 businesses in one. And I'm happy to say that we can offer all those services to our clients and kind of be that one-stop shop.
Rebecca, we are always fascinated to learn about which countries people have considered and why. Now, why don't we delve deeper into Costa Rica as a whole, and then why you chose Guanacaste in particular versus other popular spots?
Sure. Well, the province of Guanacaste is actually in the northwest part of the country. It's the largest province in Costa Rica by area. It's the preferred location in Costa Rica for both vacation and real estate investment for a variety of reasons. For starters, we have over 300 days of sunshine per year. The area of the country is also the driest region of Costa Rica. So we basically see rain from May to December only. We have a rainy season and a dry season. The actual temperatures don't fluctuate too much, maybe about 5-10 degrees at the most year round. So our rainy season is basically afternoon showers and sometimes an overnight shower. I have clients that say it's very much like Florida in the summertime. And then it clears up, and sometimes we have overnight showers. So, you pretty much have a guarantee of sunny skies until 1 or 2 in the afternoon, even in the rainy season. And then, of course, when the Liberia International Airport was open in 2003 to international flights, it changed Guanacaste forever, because obviously the logistics of getting here were then much easier than before, where one had to fly into San Jose, which is some 4 hours away, and that was the only international airport. So it really did open up this destination for vacationers and investors alike. And the nice thing is that, you get off the airplane, you get in a taxi, you get to where you need to be, and you can get there now in 20 minutes to an hour, as opposed to 4 hours or more. 2 years ago, the Liberia airport underwent a multi-million-dollar expansion, and they feature a really beautiful modern terminal. They can handle up to 1,500 passengers a day, which is great, because before, in the old airport, it was pretty much a glorified hangar, open air. You had to walk down into the tarmac. It was very island-like, so it's kind of nice to, sit and wait for your flight and have our little modern conveniences like Wi-Fi and air conditioning and a duty-free shop and things like that now really make it easier for people to get in and out of this country. But, in general, to sum it up, Costa Rica is just a really beautiful place. And it's got these beautiful, idyllic surroundings, great weather, wonderful people, and a stable government. And we have no army. The army was abolished in 1948. And they basically put the money back into education and healthcare. So it's really it's a great place. It's a stable place. The cost of living is also less here than what I was paying in the USA. So really, what's there not to like?
I agree. And then can you better explain where your 4 offices are now? And I know that you said that you had one more coming soon.
Uh-huh. Yeah, we have offices basically located in Playa Tamarindo, which is one of the most touristed areas here along the coast. It's more of a surfing town from budget to five-star accommodations. We have our main office near Playa Conchal, which Conchal is regarded as one of the nicest beaches in the country, white sand beach, really pretty. Our third office is in Playa Negra, which is located just south of Tamarindo, a little bit more rural spot, also surfing beach destination. And our fourth office is in Playa Grande, which actually is adjacent to Tamarindo, but the logistics of getting there are a little bit more difficult because you either have to take a water taxi or just drive all the way around. It's like a half an hour drive. And that would sum up our 4 offices. Our fifth office is going to be open in Playas del Coco, which will be the location that is nearest to the international airport, about 20 minutes away. So we're looking forward to opening that office so we can better service that area.
Well, Rebecca, we have gotten to know you both personally and professionally, reasons why you chose Costa Rica and why Guanacaste speaks to you. But get ready, because now it's time for us to pick your brain on the local real estate scene and to get the juices flowing. We're going to do a quick round of what I like to call the real estate hot seat. We'll ask you 5 rapid fire questions and you give me an answer in 15 seconds or less each. Rebecca, are you ready for the Guanacaste hot seat?
All right, let's do it.
All right. What currency is local real estate priced in?
US dollars. The Costa Rican currency, which is the colon, tends to fluctuate a lot. So US dollars is the preferred currency to sell property in the country.
Is owning property as a foreigner completely legal?
Absolutely. Foreigners here have the same legal rights as Costa Rican citizens, which is a big plus in the country.
Can property be titled?
Yes. And in fact, almost all property in Costa Rica is. One exception would be oceanfront property, known as maritime zone property. That's actually a concession. It's sort of a lease from the government, and concessions are renewable in 20-year increments.
Can money flow in and out of Costa Rica easily, or are there currency restrictions?
Nope, there's no currency restrictions at all. Money flowing in and out of Costa Rica is rather easy. In Costa Rica, there's accounts actually in US dollars, colones, and euros.
And as listeners know, Rebecca, my number one question, what is your favorite local drink?
Well, most people like Imperial, which is a local beer, but unfortunately, I'm not much of a beer drinker, so I opt for the national liquor, which is Guaro. It's a sugarcane liquor, which is actually really good if you mix it up with lime juice.
And then I wanted to throw one more in there as far as cost of living. I know that you are from the States and you've been there for 6, 7, 8 years, something around there. Can you better explain what your cost of living is like now in Costa Rica versus when you lived in the States full time?
For sure. I mean, obviously, it's going to depend what part of the country that you're coming from, but I live for probably about 20% less than what I was paying in Florida. We have some things that are more expensive here and other things that are way cheaper. So kind of in the end, it evens itself out. But, for lifestyle and everything that I get here, I wouldn't be able to duplicate in the States for what I pay here.
Okay, Rebecca, you're off the Guanacaste hot seat, but it's time to zero in on the local real estate scene. Give us your brief synopsis on the Guanacaste real estate market over the last few years, where it is today, and then where you see it heading for the very near future.
Sure. Well, basically, when the market crashed, our real estate market took a big hit. And luckily, we draw from an international market, and therefore we weren't hit as hard, but we definitely felt it here. And prices dropped from 30 to 50% in some cases. The good news is that in 2014, it really has been the best year here, and our bottom probably hit back in 2012. And since then, we've been pretty much on a steady climb upwards, and there's still bargains to be had. Real estate taxes in Costa Rica are ridiculously low, and there are no capital gains when a property is sold. The so-called desperation or fire sales that we have, they pretty much slowed down, and inventory is now tightening up a bit. So that's good news. That's simply telling us that the buyer confidence is back in Costa Rica as a great destination for investment. And I believe that the market will continue, but on a slow, steady climb, not like years past where, it just took off sky high, but something more realistic. And we're definitely on an upswing.
And then, Rebecca, before we move on, what's your average clientele that you normally deal with?
I'd say our average clientele is between the age of 50 and 65. Most of my clients are not quite ready to retire yet. We deal more with people that are looking to invest in a property and let it cash flow for themselves. I'd say that's our average buyer.
Well, Rebecca, you have us sold on Costa Rica as a destination, Guanacaste as a location, and the Next Real Estate Outlook within the near future. Of course, you don't have a crystal ball. I sure as heck don't. No one does. But that's why I think it's so vitally important to get on the ground insight from local real estate professionals. And yes, Rebecca, I just used the words local and on the ground in the same sentence to drive home a very important fact. You are not some newsletter writer who might spend a few days in Guanacaste and then send out emails with hot buys calling yourself an international real estate guru. You are there in the trenches on a daily basis, dealing with local buyers, sellers, agents, lawyers, and every facet of the real estate business. Rebecca, break this down even further for us. Pretend you are Google Maps or Google Street View. What streets, neighborhoods, or parts of the city are we talking about in Guanacaste?
Sure. Well, for those that know Costa Rica, we don't actually have street names. And I know that sounds really weird, right? Instead, we use landmarks and the distance from them for our addresses. So Guanacaste is the largest province in Costa Rica based on area, as I mentioned. I cover the area of Tamarindo, north to Playa El Coco, which is roughly 1 hour of coastline. Popular beach destinations in between are Playa Avellanes, Playa Negra, Playa Conchal, Tamarindo, Grande, Flamingo, Coco, and Hermosa, just to name a handful.
Well, Rebecca, now that we have locations in mind, what types of properties do you recommend? And first, why don't I give you a few brief examples of what I mean? Are we talking about buying pre-construction units for capital appreciation that we later flip? Are we talking about buying completed apartments, houses, or office spaces to generate rental income? Or are we talking about buying land to either sell as is or subdivide into smaller tracts? Give us a better idea of what you're talking about today.
Sure. Well, we sell, or what the majority of what we sell are already built condos. I also sell homes and single family home sites with and without ocean view, and also farms for those wanting more space and privacy. But pre-construction opportunities, while they still exist, but after the crash, the pre-construction craze wore off. And there are some developers in the area accepting deposits for pre-construction. My only suggestion for that is to make sure that the developer has a great track record and can show you what they are doing, and that deposits are held in a third-party escrow, and that's to basically protect everybody. Many of our clients buy a property that cash flows, meaning they're buying a vacation home that they can rent out and also be able to visit a few weeks a year. So it's a win-win.
And then what's the sweet spot of the price range that people are looking at now? I know you said that your average clientele is something around 50 to 65. They're there probably part-time because they're not going to be there full-time yet. What's that sweet spot?
I'd say the most requested spot is anywhere from 200 to 500,000. That's the most requested. We definitely have people that request below and also above, but we have everything in between. I mean, we have, for us, what we have is we have something for everybody. And that's what I honestly like to tell people. There's a lot of people that think that Costa Rica is too expensive and they can't afford anything here, and that, everybody found out about us, but that's not true. That's a myth. So.
Okay, Rebecca, why don't we transition to prices? And now I'm going to hit you up with a two-part question that I know everyone wants to know. And you have to give us a general range so we have some price points in mind. Here they are. Part one. What would be the price range of what we're talking about? Maybe give us a starting price point at the low end to a final price point at the high end. And just to clarify, I'm talking about total purchase price.
Sure. Well, there are ocean view lots that we have, for example, from $80,000 to about $400,000. Obviously, that's going to depend on the view, the size of the land, and the area. We have condos from $80,000 all the way up to over $1 million, and homes from $100,000 all the way up to $4 million. So they're kind of wide ranges, but that just goes to show you that we do have something for everyone.
And then why don't we transition to a part two? I know it's very tough, but I'm going to ask it anyways. What would be the cost per meter just for a general range?
Again, this is going to be for homes and condos, but it's going to vary because of the land cost. But generally speaking, you're looking at about $1,000 a square meter all the way up to $6,000 a square meter, depending, again, on the location, finishes, and amenities.
And then what's more common? Do people come down to buy condos? Are they looking for single-family houses? Do they buy in developments?
I'd say that we sell more condos than anything. What's important to people too is that it's in a gated or secure environment, because obviously they want to make sure that they're going to have their investment here when they come back, and they don't want to have to deal with issues of security. So most of what I sell are going to be either in gated communities or secure type communities, and we definitely sell a combination of condos and homes and also single family home sites.
And then if they're not using it when they're back in the States or Canada or their own home country, do they rent it out or do they keep it vacant?
Depends on the client. Some people don't want to rent out their house and they don't have to. Other people, it's just an investment for them and that's what they have to do because they need the money. So it really just depends upon what your goals are. It's completely up to the client.
Okay, Rebecca, this is a question I like to call, what would sister do? My 40-something-year-old sister calls you up, says she has X amount of dollars to spend. You know, you can't let my sister down, Rebecca. Share
Yeah.
with us 3 examples you would show her and explain why these make sense.
Sure. I would say the top three things I would show someone would be, well, number one, a condo at the Daria Resort in Tamarindo. Those are actually the best cash flowing condominiums in that particular town. And it's the only resort in Tamarindo, so they have a niche. And they're definitely the best cash flowing vacation rentals, as mentioned. Number two would be an Ocean View parcel in Potrero. That's just north of Flamingo, and it's a great opportunity to get in starting under $100,000 for over an acre 1.25 acres to be exact, and they have pretty amazing ocean views. And you can sit on the lot long term or build, but either way, it's going to be a great deal and you're getting in at a good price. And number three would be one of the new condos in Reserva Conchal. I actually think it's a really great deal. If anybody knows Reserva Conchal, it's one of the largest golf and resort communities in the country. It's over 2,300 acres. And they just recently launched condos starting in the $200,000 price point, which is really unheard of because most of their product starts from 400,000 all the way up to over $1 million.
So, then, of course, I have to ask, of those 3 great examples, which is your favorite?
Um, well, the best cash flowing would definitely be I actually like all of them, but it depends again what your goal is. If you want to
Right.
build a house, then I'd go with the lot. And if you need something that cash flows, well, the Deria is going to be your best bet because it has a great track record.
And then why does that one cash flow so much better than some other ones?
Because the Deria is actually located in a town where most resort communities are located kind of farther away from town. I think they do that on purpose, and you'll notice that a lot here. For example, the JW Marriott, the Riu, the Four Seasons, they all are kind of off, off away from town. And I think they sequester you on purpose so that you're really far from town, and then you're forced to be within the resort. Whereas the Deria is right there, right on the main strip, and right in the heart of town, and you can walk to everything. There's no need for a car. And everybody that stays there just really enjoys their stay there. And the people that own condos there, there's really very little inventory to sell there because they do cash flow so well, and most people don't want to sell because of that.
And then going off topic just a little bit, I know that you said that you have 2 children. Can you better explain what kids might do as far as schooling? Do they go to public schools, private schools? Are they home taught?
Well, you have different. All of those are the options, what you just mentioned. I've chosen to send mine to a bilingual school. It's a nonprofit international school called La Paz, and they really love it there. My 4-year-old's in pre-K, and the 6-year-old Kian, he is in kindergarten. And what I love about that is that over 20 countries are represented. It's fully bilingual. And it's just amazing how they're completely bilingual in English and Spanish and just switch back and forth like nothing. It's really kind of a gift, and I'm really proud of them.
I love that. That's so important. Now,
Yeah.
do you think people have to be fluent in Spanish? Can they be conversational, or they don't really have to know it at all?
No, as well, when you start in the school, there's a lot of children, especially here from Costa Rica, because it's a mixture of children from all over the world.
Right.
They don't speak any English, nothing. They kind of immerse you at the beginning. It's about 70% English, 30% Spanish. So as the years go on, it's kind of more Spanish and less English, and that's how they kind of start out. So really, the children, and starting at 3, 4, 5 years of age, they're going to learn it. They're going to learn it, and they spend half their day speaking one language and the other half speaking another. So just by hearing and doing, and eventually one day they open their mouths and they start talking, and that's a pretty powerful thing.
So, do you think this is a myth, or is this not a myth? Can kids learn foreign languages better than older people?
Absolutely. Not a myth. Not a myth.
It's true,
Actually,
huh?
I think it's proven. I think it's scientifically proven. I believe they say after 7 years of age, it gets a little bit tougher for us to learn foreign languages. But I've seen people in their 60s come here, not know any Spanish, and they're able to learn. It's about effort. And I think if you make an effort, you can really learn. If you try to surround yourself with people that speak Spanish, the issue here is sometimes, there are a lot of expats here, and people
Right.
like to surround themselves with expats. So therefore, you don't really get to speaking too much Spanish. So, I guess it happens in the States as well. But, I think it's a good thing if you're going to live here to at least try to make an effort, even though you could, in theory, get away with not speaking Spanish if you didn't have to.
Well, Rebecca, we are laser focused on areas of Guanacaste. We know our starting price point. We have an idea of cost per meter. We have examples which are good enough even for my sister. Now, I have to ask an obvious question. How are we going to buy? Do we need to come in with all cash, or can we come in with a certain percentage down and get local financing from a bank or credit union?
Well, most deals in Costa Rica are cash based. Regular bank financing is really not available to foreigners. It used to be. Really, the issue now is that you have to have super stellar credit and a bunch of money to put down. And there's a lot of fees, and the interest rates are going to be a lot higher than one is accustomed to. So, really, regular bank financing is not available to foreigners. And it's already kind of difficult to get even for citizens and residents. There are some opportunities to get private owner developer financing. So that's definitely an option. You can also purchase in an IRA, which has actually gained a lot of popularity the last 4 years with my buyers in particular. Private financing usually requires anywhere from 25 to 50% down on average.
And then, Rebecca, could you better explain what percentage of people do you think get private owner or developer financing? What percent might do like in an IRA? And then what percent just might do cash either from a bank account or else like a home equity line of credit?
Sure. I mean, with cash deals, I know for a fact that a lot of people will be getting second mortgages or using their home equity line of credit back home.
Right.
That is the majority of buyers here, to be honest with you. I would say that's probably 90%. And about 5% of my buyers use IRAs. And then the other 5% might do some sort of developer or private financing. But just for an example, in 2013, I didn't have anybody that did bank financing.
Right. So that's basically not even an option anymore.
Not really, no. So.
And do you think that's going to be coming back, or is that just something during the heyday when things were good as far as banking?
I think it might come back, and that was available to us when things were great. And I think now the banks, just like everywhere else in the world, are a little bit scared about lending. So I don't know that that's going to be an option for foreigners because it's just a little bit harder when people aren't here. You know, they don't really have too much jurisdiction where that's concerned, and it's just hard to get paid back. So I don't know that they're going to come back and do that. But the good news is there are more and more sellers that are open to doing short and long-term private financing, which anyways is way cheaper and better interest rates than you would ever get from the bank.
And then if you were buying pre-construction, what would those terms be like?
Pre-construction really, it depends on the developer. Usually to reserve in pre-construction, they'll ask for, anywhere from $1,000 to $10,000 down. It just depends what it is. Usually held, almost always held in an escrow account of some sort. And, over time, they will ask for payments based on the stages of the construction. That's rather standard here.
Right.
So that's basically what you would be looking at if you do pre-construction. But again, pre-construction is not what it used to be. There's only a handful of projects that are even offering pre-construction or continuing to build. But I've seen more and more development lately, which again is just leading us to believe that things are getting much better this year. So that's good.
Okay, Rebecca, anyone who has ever owned real estate can tell you, you need to have a money exit strategy in place even before you buy. It's something what I like to call, where's the cheddar? You are buying the property to do what with it to make some money. So Rebecca, where's my cheddar?
Well, this largely depends upon the goal of the buyer. Are
Right.
you buying to retire? Are you retiring in 10 years and want a place to visit and rent out for the rest of the time? Is this going to be a second home with no plans of renting? I'd say the majority of our buyers are not quite ready to retire, so vacation homes with the potential of cash flow is what is most important to the majority of the buyers. And there are great opportunities to cash flow anywhere from $10,000 to $60,000 on average per year on properties here. So that's pretty impressive.
Well, Rebecca, I wanted to thank you for taking the time to share with us about Guanacaste real estate. We have heard about your journey, why you chose Costa Rica, exact areas to focus on, price points to look out for, examples, good enough even for my sister, a money strategy to purchase, and then what we might do with it after the fact to make some cheddar. Unfortunately, it's time to say goodbye. But before we do, share with us easy ways to get a hold of you, any parting advice you might want to share, and then let's say goodbye.
For sure. You can reach me at Becky@bwpcr.com. So that's Blue Water Properties Costa Rica, the initials, or info@bwpcr.com. You can visit our website at bwpcr.com. My Skype ID is Mediatica26. And of course, two numbers to get a hold of me. My US phone is 813-579-3350, or you can also call us toll free from the US or Canada at 1-866-670-0258.
Awesome, Rebecca. I have really enjoyed this conversation straight from Guanacaste, Costa Rica to our earbuds, and I hope we can catch up again in 3 to 6 months.
I hope so too. I'm not going anywhere, so I'll be here.
I want to thank Rebecca once again for taking us back to the CR and exposing why Guanacaste is the premier province for those looking for part-time or full-time living in Central America. Rebecca was another House Hunters and Live Here By This alum, and I can't wait to get her back on the show again soon with more specific Guanacaste real estate investments she believes you need to hear about right now. If you're listening to this podcast and want to grab Rebecca's contact details, links on buying or selling Guanacaste real estate, or any other show notes, head on over to irelpodcast.com/37. Listening to Rebecca has gotten you all excited about Guanacaste, and you want to start getting Costa Rica real estate listings via email. You want to be in the comfort of your home or office, and you want to see the property's pictures, details, and prices all at your fingertips. And of course, you want these completely free. Head on over to irelpodcast.com/37 and get signed up for our free property alert service for Costa Rica. And each time a property is listed by an owner, agent, or developer, you get them via email. What are you waiting for? Head on over to irelpodcast.com/37 and get signed up.
You have been listening to the IREL Podcast with Taylor White. Be sure to hit up irelpodcast.com for more. That's irelpodcast.com. Thanks for listening.